We have all been taught that we have to suffer our way to success. And if it came too easily or it came too quickly, then we don't deserve it. So we need to suffer through it, but it's not necessary. Suffering is completely optional, and suffering is what keeps you throwing obstacles in your path. Well, hello there, prosperity seeker and obedient rebel you. Welcome to another episode of The Prosperity Approach with your obedient rebel, Allyson Chavez. As always, I'm humbled and I'm grateful that you're spending any amount of time with me here today. And if you want to share this episode, if you find it valuable, please share it with the people in your life that you think would benefit from this. Like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and rate and review if you're watching this or listening to this on any of our podcasting platforms. We've got to get the message of prosperity out there more and more and more, especially because I really feel that we're moving into another age of prosperity, and actually another level of prosperity, where it's not about the chase for wealth. It's not about the chase for money. It's about that. It's about inner peace. It's about connecting with your higher power. It's about trusting God, trusting yourself, trusting the process, which we have been taught not to do any of that. So that's why I decided to rebel, because I did all the things that I was told to do and made all the money and gained 50 pounds, and I couldn't sleep because I was in so much anxiety and couldn't be present with my husband and my 4 children. And I realized no amount of money was worth this price I was paying for it. Is this what success is? Because I sure didn't feel very successful making 50 grand, 100 grand a month. And so I decided I needed to rebel. And I rebelled against society's programming, conditioning, the evil things that we've been taught, the untrue things that we've been taught, the limited things that we've been taught. And my goodness, it's a journey. It's a journey, but it has been amazing, an amazing experience, which is why I invite you to rebel with me as well, especially if you are a professional woman or a professional couple, that you have the worldly success, but you're still feeling lost, chaotic, maybe secretly inadequate. I want to help guide you through eliminating worry, attracting wealth with greater ease and flow, staying present in your life, and developing an overriding confidence that drives and influences and changes every part of your life. To do that, we've got to rebel. And I want to teach you how to do that. We're rebelling against society and culture that is not good for us. And we are obeying God's laws, God's commandments, the universal truths and principles of wealth and prosperity and creation, which are tools that we know how to use, but we haven't been given permission to use them. And we don't use them very well. So today I want to talk about eating crow a little bit. And I don't know if it's so much eating crow as it is, I've been getting some pushback lately about the whole idea of success without struggle. So the whole umbrella of my brand is the prosperity approach, success without struggle. And I have had this brand and I've had this tagline for years and years and years. And I've gotten pushback from it for years and years and years. And I used this analogy that there is no value in struggle. There is immense value in challenge. And the struggle and challenge are two different things. When you're struggling, you give up. You actually impede your progress when you are in struggle. I remember when I was 6 years old, you probably heard this story before, but I really wanted to go outside and play, but I wasn't dressed yet. So mom said, get dressed and you can go outside and play. And so in my excitement and in my rush, notice that, rush, hurry, all of that, I was putting my shirt on. It was like inside out and upside down. And I was trying to get my head through the arm, or like through the sleeve, and my arm was sticking out the head hole. I started to panic. And the more I struggled, the tighter that shirt got. And it was finally just like, oh, okay, just take the shirt off, turn it around, you'll be fine. And within, 30 seconds, I was out the door and playing with my shirt on. So I was like, there was really no value in struggle. But I've heard people say, oh, tell that to the butterfly as they are, coming out of the cocoon. I see t-shirts everywhere that says the struggle is real. I think back to like the reality that we're living in, not that I'm living in denial. I mean, I've been going through the last 10 years with all y'all as well, especially the last 4 years with all y'all as well, and have been influenced by that and influenced by choices that I didn't have any control over and other people. And, just like we all have, it's called life. And this past year, I would say, has been a struggle. And without any shame, without any apology, because in my world 10 years ago, struggle meant stopping. And challenge was, stepping up to the plate and rise to the occasion and challenge accepted. So challenge is really important, but struggle isn't. And I heard a quote from Bob Proctor, and he said, words are just noise. Vibrations never lie. And although he is right on that, because we create with energy, we create literally with frequency and vibration and faith. And I talked about that in another podcast. But words have meaning. Words are important. Words are not just semantics, which I was making it just semantics because I was just putting my definition of struggle and explaining my definition of struggle. And then people were like, oh, okay, I can see that. And I was talking with one of my best friends who was talking about struggle, actually. And I was at one of her events because she's brilliant. Shout out to Laurel Houston. I was at one of her events. She was talking about struggle, and I was there to learn. I came with an empty cup, and I was just like, fill me up, sister. And boy, did she. And she said something very interesting about struggle. Like, struggle is important. It's the suffering that's optional. And I've heard that before, but I was in a place to receive that in a much deeper way. And I was equating suffering and struggle as the same thing. And they are not the same thing at all. We can struggle without suffering, but we can't suffer without struggle. That just came to me. That's inspiration right there. You can struggle without suffering, but you cannot suffer without struggle. And struggle actually is quite important. Now, I don't like the t-shirts that say the struggle is real, because then what does it have you focus on? It just has you focus on the hardness of the struggle. But I am an avid workouter. Is that a word now? That's a word now. I love to work out. I work out 6 days a week. I do strength training and cardio, and I have a personal trainer. I love her so much. Shout out to Heather Dees. And we have some very specific goals for me. In fact, I'll give you a little preview. I am going to be in a bodybuilding competition in 2025, and I'm going to share that whole journey with you. Not to be all big and bulky and like I have a man body and they just pasted my head on a man's body, because I don't want to look that way like some women bodybuilders look, but just really toned and shredded. And it's for fun. It's to do it just for fun. All of my kids are grown. I have time on my hands, and I love me a good challenge to see what my body can do, to see what I can do. So I'm going to be doing this bodybuilding competition. And as I have been working with her over the last several months, and I've watched my body competition change slowly but surely, I've noticed some interesting things. She pushes me, which is what you want in a personal trainer. She pushes me. She pushes my muscles. And in the gym, I realized, working out for years on my own, I wasn't really pushing my body as much as I thought I was. And so I'm really aware now when I'm working out of like, is this a little bit too light? Can I do 12 reps with this easily? Then I need to put some more weight on. And those last couple of reps, when my muscles are fatigued, I'm not thinking I'm struggling, because I would drop the weight if I thought I'm struggling. What I'm thinking about is, come on, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Just a little more, one more. Straighten your elbow, straighten your elbow, straighten your elbow. And that is struggle without suffering. So I think maybe I need to change my tagline to success without suffering. Because I think that I know we have been taught that the road to success is a mountain, which is true, and it's lonely at the top, which is true until it's not. There's plenty of people at the top. There's plenty of room at the top because there's not a lot of people there. But we have all been taught that we have to suffer our way to success. And if it came too easily or it came too quickly, then we don't deserve it. So we need to suffer through it. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe, I am now believing in the value of the struggle, but it's a very strategic kind of struggle in I need a new skill. I need to learn a new skill in whatever it is. And there's going to be a learning curve, which can be translated very easily into struggle. There's going to be some struggle with this as I'm laying down new neural pathways to learn a new marketing skill, for example, or even if you're wanting to change your beliefs, you have to lay down new neural pathways in your brain, and your brain will resist that at first. It wants to take the superhighways of the struggle is real and nothing's ever going to change. Just be happy with what you've got. And this isn't worth the price that I'm having to pay. Like there is some struggle. There is some resistance and some pushback at the beginning of that, and sometimes throughout it as well. But that's what is so spectacular about success without suffering, because I celebrate so much when I can get that final rep in, as shaky as it is. And there are times when I can't get the last 2 reps in because my muscles are too tired. I need to rest. Like I'm just, it's done. It's done. And I'm like, oh man, I got 10 reps that time and I am shaking. Not, why didn't you get 12? Like, come on. That's the suffering part of it, right? Or this is impossible. I'll never be able to do that. That's what brings in the suffering. Suffering is optional. Suffering happens up here. Suffering happens in your mind. The struggle can be physical, and often is, and sometimes there is that internal struggle as well. In fact, a lot of times there's internal struggle when you have 2 warring belief systems that are going at each other. You know, that the warring belief system of pessimism versus optimism, or I'm never going to be good enough versus I'm already enough because the Lord and God have made me enough. I am enough with them. Like, with God plus you makes a majority, just saying. But then that takes the suffering all out of it, which really, really gives value to the struggle, to the learning curve, to the difficulty of what it is that you're doing. And maybe you're doing something that you've never done before. Or you're doing it in a way that you've never done it before. I've been doing weights for decades. I've loved working out since I was a teenager. I've been really into health and fitness like my entire life. But this is a different level now. So there's a different level of struggle. There's a different level of self-talk. There's a different level of discipline, a different level of play with this that will be happening. And so when you're wanting to level up, I'm changing my position on whether struggle has value. Struggle has value as long as you don't turn the struggle into suffering, because there really isn't any value in suffering. There just isn't. We don't need to struggle. We don't need to suffer. We're not here on this planet to suffer. In fact, scriptures say, Adam fell that men may be, and men are that they might have joy. Not men are that they might struggle and suffer and die, but we're here on this planet to learn joy. And we're here on this planet to learn ease and flow and our co-creative powers with God, whether it's, no matter what it is that we're creating, whether we're women, whether we're men, any of that. Like we're here to learn how powerful we are and what joy feels like. We really, really appreciate joy when we've experienced the opposite of it. And we really can appreciate how hard we've made life when we have suffered through it. And like, no, it's not supposed to be that hard. And here's the thing, we're wired to do this. We're wired to suffer, but it's not necessary. Suffering is completely optional, and suffering is what keeps you throwing obstacles in your path. Celebrate the challenge. Celebrate the struggle. Celebrate who you have become in the process of the struggle. Part of being the obedient rebel is understanding that becoming is the manifesting more than ever before. It's not about getting the car. It's not about getting the vacation for the family. It's not about paying off the house. It's not even about buying groceries or starting the new business or expanding your portfolio. It's not about that. It's about you and who you become through that, and how quickly you can become that version of you, that next version of you, who isn't riddled with worry, who can attract wealth in her relationships, in her money, in her health, in her body, in her relationship with God and with the Savior, prosperity and that connection. It's not about all of those things. Those things are just a bonus. It's about who you become in the process, because the becoming is the manifesting now more than ever before. So if we'll just tweak our vision just a little bit and get our vision into a little bit sharper focus of what's actually important, and take our focus off the hard, off the suffering, off the ruminating on the past, off the anger, off the anxiety, take it all off. You get to choose. And that's one thing that I've learned over this past year, where I have been in quite a bit of suffering because of where my thoughts have taken me. So I'm in the trenches right along with you. I'm like, I just got out of this trench. So it's not like 4 decades ago when I was human and mortal like you. It's like, oh my gosh, Allyson, you teach this stuff. Like, come on. Why do you think I teach it? Because then I got to practice it every day throughout the day. And even though I was going through some pretty serious mental health issues, I realized one day, like, I still can choose. I still can choose whether I want to stay on this planet or whether I don't want to stay on this planet. And I get to choose to be afraid of the future or curious about how this is all going to unfold. And because there were some really dark thoughts that were swimming around in my mind and taking up very valuable real estate for a little while. And it scared me, as it should, because death wishes or suicidal ideations are nothing to joke around with and nothing to play around with. So if you are having those struggles, please, please, please call a professional. Get in for some help. This doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're not enough. It means we got chemicals that need to be rebalanced. We got a little haywiring going on in your brain. That's all it means. And get the help that you need. But one thing, and I wasn't planning to talk about this, but somebody needs to hear this. When I was in the midst of that, not really being suicidal, but also being like, don't want to be here anymore. I'd rather be in the spirit world on the other side, helping from the other side because it's too scary down here. I remember thinking very distinctly, but I can choose. I can choose to be curious about the future, or I can choose to be paralyzed by fear of the future. And I'd much rather be curious. I want to see how this all ends. And yeah, there's a lot of turmoil going on, and buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to get more tumultuous, because he's coming back, and I don't know when, but it's going to be sooner than ever before. We're getting closer every day. So it's going to rock and it's going to roll, but it's also filled with so much light and so many miracles. So please just get curious. Get curious when you find yourself suffering. Just get curious about it. Don't judge it. Don't even try to change it, but just get curious. And that saved me, along with some really great prescription meds and antidepressants. And sleep. Sleep is very important as well. But all that aside, I realized that even in the midst of the depression, in the midst of the anxiety, and the midst of all of the fluctuations in the hormones, I still had choice. I still had choice. And I could choose what I wanted to focus on, the fear or the faith, the struggle or the suffering, the doubt, the fear or the excitement, and the curiosity. So I think I need to change my tagline to success without suffering rather than success without struggle. The struggle is real, but the suffering doesn't have to be part of the struggle. And you will grow so much faster when you just embrace the struggle, not the suck. Embrace the struggle. The suck is the suffering. Embrace the struggle and rejoice in the fact that it's the becoming that is the most exciting thing that is happening. And, the family vacation to Italy and touring Japan and the new car and the fancy new house, those are all just bonuses. Doesn't matter whether you get them or not. The manifesting, the becoming is the manifesting. And you can do it whatever way you want. But I suggest ease and flow. We've done hard and suffering. Let's try on some ease and flow. If that is something that you want to do, shoot me an email at Allyson@AllysonChavez.com and let's have a conversation. Tell me what you're suffering with, what you don't want to suffer with anymore, and let's see if we can come up with a plan together to get you out of that and embracing that next version of you and the incredible, beautiful, fun, exciting process of becoming. If you have found value in this video, please feel free to share it with others. Please, please, please share it with others who might be suffering and struggling right now and bring them hope. Hopefully this will be the answer to a prayer. I love being an answer to a prayer. I love being an earthbound angel whenever I can be that. So please feel free to share this with others, like and subscribe, rate and review, all the things. Life is glorious. Life is glorious. And you ain't seen nothing yet. And until next time, remember, prosperity becomes you, especially when you create it with him. Bye-bye.